Hi, I'm Jayant Bhadula from Bloodywood, and I'm hanging out with Rob from Front Row Live.
This is like your second American tour, right?
Yes, absolutely. So we were here in September last year, and now
Yeah.
we're back here again.
How amazing is it, like that first experience in the US for the very first time, that those first performances with American audiences, and then now being able to bring it back down this time. I think you're on day 3 of this tour so far.
I think it's the fifth show. Yeah, it's the fifth show. So last time we were like, we knew we were expecting love from the US because we one of our most strong fan base actually comes from the US. But then when we saw it in person in festivals and all the club shows that we did, it was unreal. Like we were, like I said, we were expecting, but wow, that was something, and we're still getting it this time as well.
I'm super excited because I got introduced to Bloodywood earlier this year. And obviously the debut album Rakshak is what I was listening to. And the moment that I put that to play, I was like, it needed to be on repeat and repeat. Like, such an incredible record. And I want to talk about, like, dive into that creative process of like the writing process and the creative process of this album, to make it what it is today. How did it, what kickstarted it?
So what for us generally when we write song, it comes down to first to Karan, who's actually the producer of the band as well. So he lays down the instrumental structure completely, and then me and Rahul step in with lyrics and melodies. Sometimes it's Karan who's throwing in melodies as well, like you should try this or that. So but it's we all three sit together and work on it, but it's majority Karan when he starts off with the instrumental, and later on it's me and Rahul. And in terms of the themes that we use, it's actually like quite a long discussion amongst us, like what do you want to convey with the songs, because whatever we write about is something that we've either gone through or seen someone who's gone through that. So because of all of that, we need like discussions, and how when we decide a topic, then how we are going to take this forward with each and everything. So lyrics especially for us is something that we actually sit down and think about a lot, talk again, discuss a lot of discussion, a lot of trial and error, and that's how each and every song comes out.
How does that make that process, or how does that help that process? The fact that you have to sit down together, make sure you're all on the same page, talk about these kind of themes or commentaries that you want to talk about. Like, is that part of the pre-production, or is that like pre-production before you guys start to even like work on music?
It depends actually. Sometimes it's like we talk about something that we really feel passionate about, and then we're like, hey, this is what we're going to talk about. Sometimes it's the instrumental. When the instrumentals are done, we listen to it, and this is what we're feeling with the music. This is what I want to convey. This is whatever like we feel is the best that goes with that particular piece of instrumental. So it can go both ways, but it generally the latter that happens more. So yeah.
Now, with this album, did you have a theme in mind already of the topics that you wanted to talk about as you guys were kind of thinking about the title? Rack Shack, from what I was looking at, it means guard. So did you guys have an idea of like, okay, like these are the themes that would fit perfectly as like someone that is a protector or a guard, like the name of the album?
So the name of the album actually came post we wrote all the songs, because we after we were done with all the songs, we were like, oh, there is a common theme, and the theme is to like push yourself up, or as for example in Danadan we call to action to all. We all come together as a society to fight the necessary evil, being sexual assault in the song that we are discussing, or we as a person, like for example in the song Aj is about just pushing through and making sure that you do not get held by the limitations that you have, and you try your best to achieve your goals. So all of this comes down to one little thing that we put together and called it Rakshak. Rakshak, the album art and the name isn't necessarily saying that, oh, you need a protector or we are your protector, but what it is saying is that you are your own protector. Yeah. So that's why it's the if you see the artwork, there's a kid, but there's an elephant right behind him as the protector. It's a I'd say metaphorically, like the exaggeration, like your power is humongous if you have faith in yourself.
Nice. And you mentioned that Karan is the one that creates the instrumentation beforehand, and then you guys start with the lyrics. When he creates the instrumentation, how does that impact your vocals, and also Raul's vocals?
He actually knows our voices pretty well because we I've known Karan since I think 2015, and I used to sing for other bands as well. So that's how he knows me, and he knows my voice pretty well. So when he writes, he knows like, oh, this would fit well with this or whatever, or we can play around. Me and Rahul can switch something. Also, Rahul and Karan met when Rahul wanted a video done for his solo project called No Flag. So that's how he also knows his voice as well. So when he writes, so he has that in mind. It's not just like a shot in the dark, hit or a miss. It has to be on point so that we can, utilize the best we can with our vocals. So he actually knows that. So when he goes into the whole process, he knows what he's doing. Like, hey, this should work here and this should work there. So yeah.
One of the things that caught my attention from the moment that I started playing this album was the fact that you bring in the Indian folk instrumentation as well. You have the dole, you have the flute, and you have the timbu,
We call it a flute, basically.
the flute as well. Like, but coming like bringing these into the pot of the creative process for this album. Do you guys have these in mind ahead of time, or is this something that like after you guys kind of created the music instrumentation and everything, like it kind of you brought it to the table?
So we've found that Indian instruments are going really well with Western guitars and everything by accident. That was Karan. We were doing a cover, and then he was making the instrumental, and he was like, "Hey, Dhol goes really well with the guitar riffs and all," and that actually led him down the rabbit hole of just like trying Indian instruments, and that's when we realized that a majority of Indian instruments actually add a lot to this whole sound of metal. So it wasn't something that we're like, oh, we have to put it for the sake of it. For example, if you take this album, our song BSDK Gen doesn't really have a lot of Indian percussion, just maybe some wind instruments and all, a little bit here and there, but not really too much. Or same with Aj, maybe one string instrument that is Indian. Apart from that, it's all just guitars, drums, vocals, bass. So we do not like really think about it like, oh, we have to put in instruments, but it comes down to what feels best with it. Like, oh wow, this feels complete with this. So that's why, because we don't just use a dhol or a flute, we've got sarangis playing in the background, which is a string instrument. Then there are tablas, which is also a percussive instrument. There are a whole bunch of instruments that we use. There are nagaras, again, it's like a big hand drum. So we use a lot of instruments, but it has to flow with the song. It cannot just be there for the sake of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And take me back to that creative process with Karan, because you guys are comfortable with each other. You mentioned you've known him since 2015, and the fact that you are comfortable sometimes may make it harder to be more creative or step out of your comfort zone. How does he allow you guys to get out of that comfort zone during the recording process of this album?
With me, I'm like, I cannot do this. He's like, you can just go and try it. That's all. That's really it. But I mean, we anyways have to push our boundaries. That's how you're gonna evolve as musicians as well. So we are well aware that we will have to be at that point where we have to push ourselves, maybe step out of our comfort zone more than that we prefer. But it's just the part of the process that you have to do that. So that, for example, Indian classical wasn't. I wasn't even near it at all. Even right now, I don't have a lot of classical Indian influences, but I have started listening to more stuff so that I also get an idea of what happens, because I have learned vocals and everything on my own. So that has been my process. So I do that on my own slowly, and now I've realized like how much lyrically Indian classical and especially folk music has to give in just terms of sheer lyrics. So this is how we basically, yeah, go about it. It just, you can do it. I don't think so. Maybe you can just try it. That's all. That's literally it in terms of just pushing our boundaries.
I love how you guys mesh your lyrics with also English lyrics. Is that process difficult? How do you guys come about to be able to make sure that these lyrics mesh in both languages?
I mean, it's the common theme at the end of the day. So it generally depends again on what type of song we are writing and what we are saying with that song. And plus, English is, we use a lot of English in India in general. So it's not that hard for us to be like, oh, that's a foreign language. No, it's not. We use it on a regular basis, just amongst ourselves as well. So it just flows really well into it, because we like what we are saying with one verse and how will it flow into the pre-choruses and choruses. What we're saying, it's just easy for us again, because we speak a lot of English as well in general. So it's never really a problem. It's just, like I said, flows well.
Would you say that in the writing process you start in English?
Not necessarily. It depends. I write in Hindi. and not exactly a lot of Punjabi, but a little bit here and there. I write in that. Me and Karan actually do really a lot of back and forth in terms of lyrics. Like maybe we could twist it like this or like that because it's more comfortable. Rahul is more comfortable with English, so once he's done, maybe we'll have an input, maybe we'll not. Maybe it's just perfect at that given point in time. So that's how it works, and because we know what he's saying and what I'm saying, like we have the how can I say it? Like in one line, I know that he's gonna talk about this, so I know I have to continue that conversation and take it there. So it's really easy to move it like that.
Mentioning Punjabi, going back to 2017, you released Punjabi Metal, and I'm curious like how that evolution was from Punjabi Metal to now this album, and how did you guys kind of learn to be, or how did you discover the lane that you're in today?
So we always wanted to put out original songs. We were well aware nobody's gonna go on the internet and be like, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna find Indian metal today." So for that, we did all of these covers and random metal versions of pop songs and stuff. And once the aim was to get enough eyeballs so we can put out our originals. But during that journey itself, we found a new sound that worked well for us, and that's what we developed into what we play today. So that is like that's how it happened, honestly.
It was just like a natural progression
Yeah,
for you
natural
guys.
progression right there because we found out that the whole goes really well with guitars, and then we started experimenting. Karan would go deep in this experimentation of like instruments and all. So it went on like that, and now we have what we have.
For you personally, with this album, which song or which track do you feel challenged you the most, whether it was in the writing process or the vocals, especially when you're performing them live?
It's actually this song we do called Zanjiro Se. So that song is a softer song, but it just takes a lot of control, which I'm not used to because I'm used to like really heavy, just like belt it out. So it was, I won't say like tough in terms of singing, but tough in terms of just being calm while I do it because a little bit I start belting out a little bit here and there and I can just go wrong. So it's just challenging in that sense. But apart from that, I'd say every song was challenging and every song was not challenging at the same time. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I feel like with that song, it would be difficult on a tour where it's like you're going from hard, heavy hitting songs to now slowing it down a little bit.
Yeah, but now with the amount of shows and the practice we've done, it's closer to home now. It's not that tough, I'd say. But yeah, initially it was because I have to just calm myself down. You've got a lot of adrenaline pumping in and everything, and I'm just like, take it slow. Do not just go really, loud or whatever immediately. So yeah, that that's about it. Yeah.
With the writing process, was there a particular theme or song that you guys were kind of hesitant to kind of write about a release just because it's a deep topic, or like maybe the research wasn't fully enough, or you just didn't feel comfortable speaking about the topic?
Not really, because I mean, we do our own research as much as we can about the topics, not just our discussions, but we read about stuff also so that our facts are correct. So, I mean, if you look at it, every song talks about something serious, be it from like we've done a whole bunch of political songs where we're just asking for like removal of religion from politics completely because it's democracy. You're free to you're free to practice any religion, but it cannot have a place in politics because you cannot make form laws in with your beliefs. It has to be for the common good. You cannot discriminate in terms of religion. So topics like that to like just how media is getting manipulated nowadays. So we are putting our side, even though it's a hard message. We aren't scared to put it out because majority of the people who listen to us actually do like relate with what we are speaking about. And if people for the people who do not listen to us, it will make one sense. We're not up in your we just, hey, this is our point of view. That's yep. And so by that logic, I mean, it's not really hard for us to put these songs out. Yes, we sometimes get scared, but it's not like, oh, like basically not in a bad way. We just like amongst ourselves, but nothing like can stop us from putting out what we want to say. Yeah.
Now, going back to the covers that you guys would do early on, you guys had an incredible cover of a big 90s hit that, what, even in the States, it was big, Tunak Tunak. And, talk to me about the creative process of that song and how were you able to make it your own? Like, if I had not been aware of that original version, like I would have thought it's another song from you guys.
Yeah, so Tunak Tunak is actually sung by this amazing, great vocalist called Dale Mehdi. He's a very amazing folk singer, and he basically is everywhere in India majority of the times. So this song, because it became an international phenomenon, and we generally just play it if there's a wedding, there's a birthday, or whatever, it will at least get played once. That like that everyone knows about that song. So when we decided to do a cover of it, we completely made one like a heavy metal cover of it, but with the video we wanted to have fun. That's the first time Karan actually tried green screen. That's the first time ever we would just go on the internet. He's like, whatever memes you find, just throw it my way, we'll see what we can do with it. So we didn't really even, it's all Karan just like having fun with the green screen, which was just basically we put one big ass curtain and like basically shut off all the windows and everything and shot the video there, and then he just had his way with the with the footage. So yeah, so we knew we just like having fun with this. It just happened naturally. Oh, we'll do this. We'll put like Indian dish, like a Mario thing happening and whatnot. So yeah.
It became a hit for you guys too, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely. A lot of people like were like, oh, Tunak Tunak. Even now they're like, oh, why aren't you playing Tunak Tunak? Because we're focusing on originals. That's why. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I'm excited. I'm happy that I got introduced to your music. I'm super excited about this album, and I'm excited to watch it live. The tour just recently kicked off, the Rakshak USA Tour 2023. You have Vendetta, you have Wargasm as well. With these two bands that you brought on tour, why did you feel like they were the perfect fit for the band, but also for this tour that you guys are on?
I mean, we have always appreciated their sound, and also Vended and Wargasm. Actually in the European festival run, or even the American one, we were around the same place, like in the same festival, same day, maybe like a couple of just slots away from each other, just different stages. Like we were there all the time, and I'd see Vended guys seeing us, or me just going to check them out when they're playing, or same with Wargasm. So we just fit. That's the perfect fit because there's just mutual appreciation from both ends. So yeah.